Okay, just to, I just got a call. So there is a mix-up, like I said. So Professor Best said there is going to come in to address us, and at the same time, I think the professor that will take us will come around 7. So there is need for they need to do a bit of realignment with their schedule and for us to, be on the same page. So let's just hold on, and Professor Best will join us soon to address us. Thank you. I will mute you guys now. So if you want to speak, you can unmute. You are free to unmute and speak. I think I've given you the access now.
Okay, Prof, please. I actually want to say something because I didn't want to start saying it when Prof was talking yesterday. Let it not be as if maybe we're trying to be somehow disintegrated. I was thinking about this money for seminar which Prof was talking about, and some persons were suggesting that it can be paid when we're about to defend, So I want to actually state that if we pay such money without anything, to me, it doesn't make sense, and we didn't get anything from it. Okay, so basically, if we are to attend the conference, those that have the opportunity now and can afford it can attend, while others can also wait when they have the opportunity and the finance, instead of making it a free payment to be made, because there's nothing you will attend that you will not benefit from. You get what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, we are also going to have certificates from it. Like some of us that are in practice and some of us that are in the university, we have additional benefits from it instead of just paying money for nothing. Okay. And he also mentioned some persons that have the opportunity or the abstract to present can also do that, which is also an additional benefit. So please, I want to plead with you so that maybe when you are having your discussions, let it not get to that point of is a standard money to be paid without gaining anything from it. Because basically, me personally, I was not even thinking of doing anything online because of how people look at some of those things. But if you look at what we are doing so far, you see that they are doing well. And they are doing everything possible to make sure that we even benefit more than what some persons that may even just attend a conventional or more daily program to schools do. Okay, so let's utilize the opportunity for those that could at this point. Then if there are persons that we are not able, then they can also fix up another time for them to do. Okay, because I was not around when he concluded, because I heard when somebody mentioned for it to be a standard money they can pay maybe towards that time. It doesn't make sense to me personally. It may make sense to others because I want to have benefit for anything I'm standing for. And I say this as an additional benefit because if you look at the sub-themes, you see they are very important themes, the sub-themes. They are very, very important. So, and as he said, you can choose one particular day and attend. So please, let it not be just money to be paid. Let us get benefit for whatever we are paying it for, please. That's what I want to plead.
Hello, sir.
Sorry,
can I speak?
Thank you so much, Prof.
Can I speak?
Excuse me, let's hold on, please. To be honest, I think Professor Best addressed this issue yesterday. I wouldn't want us to take this platform and discuss something that he has already addressed. So let's do what he said. If you didn't hear it, go back to the video, or you can get back to me. Maybe I will advise you on what he said. I can't add to what he has said. Thank you.
It's all right. I'm here, so I can.
Okay,
Is there any
thank
question?
you.
To say something, Cause Rep, can I say something, please?
No. Dr. Tobin, I'm here. So.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir.
Do you want to ask questions? It seems there are questions I need to answer.
It's regarding the conference we're talking about.
Okay, are there issues that we need to sort out?
No, what I'm trying to say, I wanted to add to what the last speaker just said.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear the last speaker.
Okay. What she's saying, she's encouraging us to attend. Me, I'm of the opinion that Everybody may not have the 20,000 naira now, but it's good that everybody register. So that from now to the defense period, you have the opportunity to pay the 20,000. Because the sub-teams, they're all designed to improve us in one way
It's
or
all
the other.
right. It's all right.
Yes,
Thank you
That's
very
just
thank
much.
a
you,
suggestion
ma'am.
I
Thank
want
you
to
so
make.
much. Thank you. You
So
Thank
those
understand
who
my
you.
have the
point.
20K, you can
It's
pay.
all
If
right.
you not,
It's all right.
just register and gain the
Yeah.
knowledge. Thank you.
You don't do now. May
Thank
we start
you.
class.
It's all right. It's all right. Anyway, I think we are making some adjustments. We assume that everybody will take part. So we have made it almost like a levy, and that this can be paid. This can be paid right at the end of the program, perhaps before or during the clearance for the for the collection of the certificates. Yeah, so we can make it that so that in fact, once the links and everything will be sent to everybody, will be sent for everybody. You know, at times at times people, mothers, especially those that nursed people like us that are older, at times they do some force feeding. When some infants, when some babies, when they refuse to eat, their mothers, especially mothers of old, they have a way of forcing them to eat. Probably that is what we are going to do. And we understand that times are hard. And we have also made concessions. Those that we have, I'll be directing those in the finance officer and the IT persons to remove all additions. We said if you pay within a certain period, if you don't pay within a certain period, you have to pay extra. So we have to remove such. And then, okay. So I hope that that settles it. These things, we are doing it just as I explained yesterday. We are doing it for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons is the fact that we want to show beyond, want to exceed the standard, so that we will not be accused of having a substandard project. And to tell you the truth, we have to maintain the image of the school, because at the end of the whole program, you'll be awarded an MPH. So we want your MPH, the MPH from the School of Public Health, University of Port Harcourt School of Public Health, to be well regarded by employers. Right now, employers, they regard them far, far, far higher, much, much higher than a lot of the MPH degrees being awarded. Because virtually all the universities in this country, especially those, virtually a lot of them, they especially those with the NUC accreditation to run master's program, they all have MPH. So, but we want our graduates to distinguish themselves with the kind of knowledge, with the knowledge they exhibit. And to tell you the truth, a lot of the NGOs, although right now because of Trump, a lot of the NGOs are going moribund. But when they are at their peak, when they are at their peak, they actually prefer our graduates, such that we almost like regard ourselves as the in-service training facility for a lot of the main NGOs. So that is what we get. And that is what you will get by probably stressing yourself to maintain this quality, so that when you pass through the process, you will exhibit enough knowledge for you to be well regarded, and for them to ask, where did you train? Where did you have your degree? And that is how the way we grow. And that is the way we grow. And I know that some of us have even community health backgrounds. Those community health practitioners, they are community health practitioners, but we want to also help them because they are getting into the university system, and we want to set the right standard, the academic standard, so that because they are going to lead the process, they are going to lead education in the undergraduate programs in these new programs that are being set up. Almost all the private universities, they all have public stroke community health. So those people, they will recruit, they need lecturers. They need lecturers. And if our graduates are employed, we want them to be able to lead the research projects in those universities. Yes. Okay. So please, so we will try. We'll try. We'll thank you for your understanding, and we'll just pray that yes, we know that times are hard. Times are hard. Yes, times are hard. But let's just try too. Let's just make sacrifice. Thank you very much. Dr. Ogbonna said she told you 7. So I decided to just come in to keep you busy until she comes. So yesterday we started this course. We introduced the course. It has to do with social medicine, addressing the social determinants of health. Okay, social determinants of health. Yesterday we were also able to emphasize the fact that when the WHO defined health to encompass social well-being, that brought healthcare into areas that are not traditionally included in healthcare. What it has to do with social conditions of life, and that social conditions or social well-being has to do with the quality of the interactions between human beings, quality interpersonal interactions, and we interact with fellow persons in our communities, our traditional communities, persons outside our traditional community, and even as international citizens. Okay, and yesterday we even started by talking about the features in these areas, that are inbuilt to ensure that we have we have amicable interactions, considering the fact that we actually evolved from animals. We involve some apes, especially. This is science, so we may not completely take the creation story of the Bible. So we assume that we came. So we have we borrowed a lot from animals. Okay, so in the animal kingdom is for survival of the fittest. So these social conditions are actually social features in our social environment, are actually built in to ensure that we have quality interactions between us, so that the powerful, the strong will not eat the poor for dinner. The strong will not just come to your house, and of course, if they like your wife, they just collect your wife, and nothing you can do. In fact, if you open your mouth to resist, they beat you up or even kill you. Okay, so we didn't want the human society didn't want all those things, and is the reason why these things were included. So we talked about how the various social determinants of health can or affect health. We talked about sex, we talked about gender, sex and gender, and we made the distinction between the two. We talked about the fact that women were actually created to be stronger. They were actually created to be stronger, especially with the extra X chromosome they have, and then with the extra S chromosome, and the fact that men are supposed to be the breadwinners, so they do a lot of things to bring back the kill. Okay, yes, that is for hunter gatherers to bring food to feed the family, and they can get into trouble doing that. Okay, but we also talked about in our own environment where that is not exactly that is not actually what obtains, because women are dying at a rate that is unnatural, and that is where you have that missing women syndrome, missing women syndrome, that even in Nigeria, according to the last census we have, according to our last census, there were more men than women in Nigeria at that time, which means that that missing women syndrome still operates in Nigeria, and that has been linked to increased maternal mortality, increase the fact that women die even at a very high rate in Nigeria, at very high rate in Nigeria, when they are not supposed to die. Okay. So after that, we talked about occupation. We talked about occupation, the fact that the more educated the person is, the better the occupation and the less the risk. The less the risk. And if an educated person is engaged in a risky occupation, occupational health services are usually provided to safeguard him, and this is usually not the case with those of manual labors, because they are found everywhere. 1 pound 10 1 pound 10, you can find them, so you can replace them. So we are not the employers, especially those employers in Nigeria, who, when they give you work, they believe that they have even done you a lot of favor. So they usually don't care, because they can easily replace their skills. Okay. Then we also talked about education. The fact that education, the more educated you are, the more likely you are going to, the more likely you are going to live a longer life. Because education gives us knowledge of ensures that we have good health-seeking behavior. We understand symptoms. We understand we understand when our body is not right, and then how to look for good look for good health care. What has been called a good health-seeking behavior. But we also introduce the concept of health literacy, which is not the same as the literal literacy, because especially in Nigeria, health literacy is assumes that once you're educated, you'll be able to read health information, and that should be able to guide you in seeking health care. But in Nigeria, we understand that we are still held on by our belief in the supernatural, irrespective of how educated we are. Believe in the supernatural, irrespective of how educated we are. So people still believe that certain things are probably outside science. Outside science. Certain things are outside science. And we even gave the instance of a general overseer of a big Pentecostal church, who has a PhD in genetics. So which means that he knows everything. He knows everything about genetics. And the fact that he even wrote that he had 70 research papers. I must say, those of us in academics knows that 70 papers can fetch you a professorship anywhere. In fact, I have assessed some professors in Gambia, and they require just 12 papers. So that's his 70 papers would have made him, we are giving him professorship in 3 lifetimes. But he still gave this thing as he still talked about family causes, that can even be broken with fasting and prayers. So, which means that technically his health, it is he's, and when it comes to health, is an illiterate. And you know, when you were taught the history of medicine, we met Islamic medicine. We met Moses Maimonides. Moses Maimonides, who was a rabbi, a physician, but he was able to combine the two. He used the knowledge of one to improve the practice of the other. And he was so well regarded by the Jews that they used to say that from Moses to Moses, there is no one like Moses. But still, he used the knowledge. He used the knowledge of the Torah to improve his medical practice, and he became very good in the treatment of psychosomatic problems. Okay, so that is for health illiteracy. But we also emphasize the importance of the education of women, female education that is considered as one of the child survivors strategies by UNICEF and WHO. That if the more educated a woman, the less likely her children will die, especially during infancy. And then we even quoted the study done in Bangladesh and in Indonesia, where they found out that each extra year of education of a woman adds 5% to the height of the children. And we even try to explain that it probably flows from better knowledge of the nutritional needs of these children. Okay, so what else did we do yesterday? We talked about religion, that religion can be of good, can also be a disadvantage. Religion promotes social well-being because of better interactions, knowing that a lot of the main religions, they encourage good neighborliness. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So that ensures social well-being. He talked about mental well-being. Mental well-being in the sense that if you believe in the supernatural, you would think that the supernatural will help you in every situation, and probably help you so much that you will have that feeling, that peace that passes all understanding. That, to me, is the highest form of mental well-being. You feel peaceful, but you just can't explain the source of that peacefulness. Okay, and that comes from being religious. And they also say that even for cancer patients, the more religious you are, the longer they live, the longer the patients live. The longer the patients live. But we also say, of course, in this era of non-communicable diseases, where the symptoms of the disease, they just come nicodemously. They just come slowly. You won't notice. As the disease builds a house, literally, in your body. So the only way you can detect them is to go for regular medical checkup. But it has been found that when people are told that certain diseases are not their portion, cancer, if you are told that cancer is not your portion, you are not going to go for screening. Unfortunately, that will not reduce your risk. That will not reduce your risk of developing breast cancer, especially when you have a family history. Remember Jolie, the actress, that had a family history of breast cancer. The mother, the grandmother, all had breast cancer. And what she did, she just went and did mastectomy, remove all the breast cells. So she didn't say, "Oh, it's not her portion." She took action, and that is what some of our Christians didn't do. Okay, So we talked about other things. We talked about even the place of residence, urban centers, rural centers, the semi-urban, which has the features of both of them. Urban centers, no natural environment, there's a density high density of human population, and because of high density, the environment is more polluted, and in polluted environments will give you the chances of transmission of airborne diseases. The chances are higher, and then of course some disease vectors like Culex mosquitoes that breed more in dirty environments will be there, biting the urban residents from dusk to dawn. And then the rural areas are exposed very close to the natural environment. So there are hazards associated with the natural environment. Jungle yellow fever, even Lassa fever, where when rats move from the bush to inside people's houses to escape the harsh dry season environment. Okay, so that is that. So we have to consider all this when we are carrying out our urban rural comparison. I know that some of us we do our research topic will be on those. Okay, so that's a recap of yesterday's lecture. This one wasn't listed, this health behavior, but it would be nice to just take a look at this health behavior. They are very, very important. They are very determinant, very good, important determinants of health, knowing that a lot of these non-communicable diseases are related to this health behavior. You have the slides, and I'm going to just as I said, I'm going to just continue until Dr. Obonna joins. And I also know that even Dr. Abie Somiari is also supposed to be to teach today. Let me just see. But whenever they join, I will go out. Okay, so we'll go to these health behaviors. When WHO did a study, I think the study was done in 2001, but it formed the subject of the 2002 World Health Report. And in that study, the WHO identified the commonest, the risk factors that are responsible for most of the health problems in the world. They include high blood pressure, high cholesterol level, tobacco use, alcohol consumption, being overweight, being overweight. Yes, being overweight. Also, alcohol consumption, eating behavior, physical activity. So the WHO listed all those as responsible for most of the morbidity and mortality in the world. So that is actually very a need for us to know about these behaviors. For tobacco is known or widely known to be the largest single avoidable cause of death. But I must say that the rate of tobacco smoking has gone down. In fact, when I was younger, almost all our seniors, the elder ones smoked. But right now, it's not that common. Even in northern Nigeria, the Muslim northern Nigeria, because somehow it seems that a society must have something that we indulge in that will take them out or take them off the stress of life. So a society must have, it seems a society must have an intoxicant. That is, I believe. That's what I believe. It used to be alcohol, and probably that is the reason why a lot of the religion they tackled alcohol. So, but newer things have came up. The tobacco, tobacco. Okay, so let's see. Yes, Adamu. Yes, yeah. So, what do you want to? What do you want to say something about this cigarette smoking in the north? Is it as common as it was? Adams. Hello, Suleiman, you can unmute yourself now. Hello? Okay. Perhaps it's network. Okay. So, but alcohol, tobacco is responsible for a lot of ill health, but it has gone down. It's always going down because the WHO and the UN, it was a sledgehammer thing. Hello, Udeme. Udeme George, you want to say something? Hello? Yes.
Good evening, Prof.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Prof, concerning these smoking tobacco, I don't know, but I feel the present generation have a high number of smoking compared to the previous generation. With this, in time past, I know people who smoke were hiding that the people should not identify them like smokers. But in today's generation, people from teenagers, you just see them running and they'll be smoking in the presence of people. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you are able to compare the ancient and the modern. Yeah, you so did you experience what it was in the 80s? Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I think he has gone. But anyway, when previously you can buy cigarette smoking, the adverts were everywhere, but right now you can't find any cigarette adverts. Even the bags, shirts, billboards were there, were all common, but right now they are not. So because of this framework convention on tobacco control, convention on tobacco control, and this treaty was signed by all the member states of the WHO. They signed this framework convention, and this treaty actually address both the demand and the supply side, So the supply side, they virtually crippled the tobacco companies. They placed huge taxes on them. And remember what happened in the US where the government, the various states of the United States won a landmark judgment against the major tobacco companies, and they were paying them billions to take care of the healthcare of those that are suffering from tobacco smoking related problems. So they took care of they developed this framework convention address both the demand and the supply side of it. So the laws so one of those things that they banned the advertisement and sale advertisement. They banned the advertisement of all forms of tobacco products, all forms, in all, not at specific time. So you cannot find any tobacco adverts, even product endorsements. You can't find. So they no longer promote their products. They no longer promote their products. They also restricted direct sale of the products of tobacco. For example, you cannot anyway. I know that in Nigeria, everything, yeah. They restricted sales so that you cannot buy. You are not supposed to buy one stick of cigarette. Instead, you have to buy a pack. But I know that in Nigeria, single sticks of tobacco of cigarette is still being sold. It's still being sold. So, okay. They also imposed health warnings on the tobacco products. They imposed health warnings on the tobacco packaging. And these health warnings are not just text, but they are also moving into pictorials depicting graphically depicting the side effects of cigarette smoking. And they also to disclose the content. They also to fully disclose the content, especially when it comes to the tar and the nicotine content, knowing that nicotine is more addictive. It's addictive. So they have to keep the nicotine content of the cigarette at a level that will not be grossly addictive. And then they restricted the sales. They restricted alcohol, tobacco or cigarettes are not to be sold to minors. And even the underage are not even allowed to buy cigarettes for adults. And then they banned the design of children toys products, children toys, sweets and snacks to look like cigarettes. They banned them. Okay, and then they also stopped tobacco vending machines to make sure that they are not sold. Minors don't have access to them. We have also talked about taxation. So the tobacco companies are heavily taxed, especially in developed countries. In developed countries, it's very, very expensive to buy some tobacco, and that's why when our brothers come back home, what they go back with is usually rolls of cigarettes, packets of cigarettes, because it's significantly cheaper. It's significantly cheaper in countries like Nigeria, where those cigarettes are not heavily taxed as heavily taxed as they are in the developed countries. And then for the supply side, they try to discourage farmers from cultivating tobacco, from cultivating the tobacco crop. They try to discourage them. Instead, they introduce other crops to discourage them from planting tobacco. And then even smoking in public places. Smoking was banned in public places. And even up to the person's house. Smoking was even banned in the sitting room, or where is smoking very close to children was outlawed, which means that they were shrinking the places smokers can smoke, such that it's almost even in your house, in a person's house, a person with a child is not supposed to smoke in the parlor, in the parlor. I think that's what we commonly call it, in the parlor, so that the smoke will not affect children. In fact, it's almost like if you want to smoke, even in your house, the only place you can smoke is in the toilet. It's in the toilet. So, okay, so that is that. So they have this framework convention on tobacco control set out restrictions, severe restrictions that have to do with both the supply and the demand side of tobacco. We also talked about this the settlements, the judgment won by the American the states of the US. Okay, so yeah, that was fast. Well, I don't know if there is any question or comment or contribution. Is there any question or comment? And perhaps those of us in the north. When I did my youth service in the north in the late 90s, there were lots of female women smokers. I don't know if there are still women smokers smoking. Yes, a lot of them were smoking at that time. I don't know if they are still smoking that much in the, at present. Hello, Ebele. Hello, Ebele.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Yes, go on.
Sorry, sir. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, sir, please, sorry, I'm just curious to ask. I know that since this thing you talked about that banned smoking, I just wanted to ask, as in ban smoking of tobacco. So why is it that when they were doing the banning, it's only tobacco that they did for, like they didn't do for Indian hemp?
Okay. Anyway, tobacco. Anyway, it, you know, they are not supposed to ban a lot of other products. Anyway, it's just that a cigarette was more widespread. More widespread. Eh? And you know that Indian hemp has been an illegal product since, but cigarette smoking was legal. So the Indian hemp has been illegal, and it's still illegal in Nigeria. But that is also what comes with a ban. If you ban a product, there's a likelihood that you go underground. You push the product underground. So you know that if you want to smoke Indian hemp in Nigeria, you can smoke. In fact, when I was doing a lot of field work all through the Niger Delta, each time we visit any community, our armed escort will just go and look for a place to find Indian hemp to smoke. When we complain, they say, that is the place they can find information. So they are there. They are there. So yeah. So
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I can move on to alcohol. Alcohol is another. You know, we are talking about those held on healthy behaviors that have contributed or that are contributing to high level of morbidity and mortality in the world. Okay, you know that you know alcohol is we have our traditional alcoholic beverages, and we have in our traditional society we have a way we drink. First of all, our alcoholic beverages are not that they don't have high alcohol content, like palm wine. Palm wine is less than 2%. 2%, 3%. Yes, fresh palm wine is probably less than 1% alcohol, contains less than 1%. And of course, the one overnight, the fermented one, can probably get to 3% or so. Okay, so which means that we can consume a lot. You can consume a lot of them. You can even finish 10, close to 5 liters. But you won't. Some people won't even get drunk. And then the traditional way of we also drink in a group. We also drink in traditional societies. They drink in a group. and they start with the oldest. Perhaps the oldest will be able to tolerate alcohol more. The oldest will tolerate alcohol better than the young. Let me. Okay, so that is it. Then the Europeans came and brought anyway what they call spirits. In fact, highly very drinks with high alcohol content, and it caused trouble. Drunkenness became very, very common. Drunkenness became very, 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 very common. So common that even the Europeans, they held a conference and tried to reduce the access of Africans to these alcoholic products. Okay, and what the funniest thing is that they also started. There was also some incentives, incentives on the drinking of alcohol, because at times it was assumed to be medicinal. If you have some stomach ache, when you take alcohol, taking of an alcohol, taking a gin, will help solve the problem. I'm sure that even that thought is still prevalent, especially in our riverine communities. It's still prevalent. People still believe that if they have a stomach ache, taking of alcohol, the local gin, or an highly alcoholic beverage will be able to solve the problem. Okay, so but the colonial government, they were also importing. They were also importing the gin from their country. They were importing the gin from their country, and the colonial government levied them such that at a point, the main revenue earner of the government was from the sale of spirits, sale of this gin. In fact, one bishop, Topwell, actually said that the Kata Bridge in Lagos was built with the proceed of this gin. The import levy on gin was used to build the Kata Bridge in Lagos, and it was also what was used to fund the building of the railway. So government made a lot of money. That is, the colonial government made a lot of money from the import duties on the gin, and then the import duties on the gin. Unfortunately, because of the high price, Africans started brewing their own local gin using palm wine. And that's the sale of the local gin affected the revenue of government. And that led to the colonial government banning the production of the local gin. And that's why this local gin, at times they call it illicit gin. And that is where that term illicit gin came from. Because at a point, the local production of gin from palm wine seriously affected the revenue of the colonial government, such that they had to take action and banned the production of this local gin. And then it was considered, it was called illicit gin. Okay, so alcohol has detrimental health effects. It has detrimental health effects. Okay, we have that is the local illicit gene. It has detrimental health effects. It can result in alcohol abuse and alcohol dependency that can result in severe health problems. Severe health problems. It is estimated that alcohol is responsible for 6.2% of the disease burden in developed countries, disease burden in developed countries. And we know the effect of alcohol, especially binge drinking, people getting drunk. It can result in accidents and a lot of things. Then, so right now, what did they do to regulate? What was done to regulate the building? Sorry, to regulate the consumption of alcohol. Okay, so what did they do to regulate the consumption of alcohol? They were in the colonial government, and even before and after the Civil War, they were issuing liquor licenses, which means that before alcohol, people were licensed to sell alcohol. So before you could sell alcohol during that period, you had to be licensed to sell it. So you have to be licensed. And in that license, they will tell you there are prescriptions where and when to sell the alcohol and the quantity of alcohol you can sell. And of course, they also restricted the places you can sell the alcohol, like you are not. Alcohol wasn't to be sold in motor parks. So, which means that the liquor license, nobody was granted liquor license to sell alcohol in motor parks. Okay. Then, okay, they that license that okay, that's so the license also ensured that alcohol is not sold to wasn't sold to minors, weren't sold at certain hours, weren't sold at certain hours, and it was also a way of generating revenue because people paid money for the licenses. Okay, they also said they also restricted the sale of alcoholic drinks to those containing less than 20% of pure alcohol. So at that period, the alcoholic beverages they sold were contained less than 20% of pure alcohol. I know that some whiskeys, or some gins, they contain even as much as 45%, 60% of alcohol. Mm? And of course, the one we call in River State, Abu First 11, that one contains even close to 70-80% alcohol. Okay, but in when the liquor's license, especially the one in River State, they said the alcohol beverages should not contain more than 20% pure alcohol. They also restricted the sale of the alcohol beverage, the time that it has to be sold between 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. So during that period in the afternoon, and then in the evening, and then in the evening. And they also restricted it to the sale. They restricted it to the sale of a maximum of 12 bottles during a space of 24 hours, which means that they didn't sell more than 12 bottles to any particular individual within 24 hours. Sorry. So, yes, and then they prohibited the sale of the drinks to children less than 14 years. So, which means you cannot send any child less than 14 years to buy those drinks. And then they were prohibited from selling alcohol to persons already showing signs of intoxication. So all these were used to control the consumption of alcohol in Nigeria. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case. It's almost like alcohol is freely sold, even in the motor parks, thereby exposing or increasing the risk of drunk driving. So I don't know. I just wonder why this liquor licensing is no longer being enforced in Nigeria. I don't understand. Then comes in recent years the Sharia law that outlawed the availability of alcohol in predominantly northern areas of Nigeria. Okay. Northern areas of Nigeria. Okay, there are also other restrictions, like in the advertisements, and then punishment for public drunkenness. So if you show anybody that shows sign of drunkenness in public can commit a crime and should be arrested by the police. I wonder who has been arrested for openly showing signs of drunkenness in public in Nigeria, in present day Nigeria. Okay. We talked about advertisement. There are also restrictions in the advertisement of alcohol. And then drunk driving. Drunk driving is heavily penalized. In fact, there were supposed to be legally imposed blood alcohol limits. In fact, the road safety cars, they are supposed to be testing drivers with breathalyzers. I think they should be. These are what they should be doing. These are what this should include what they should do. And then, of course, drunk driving is heavily prohibited. Drunk driving is heavily prohibited. So that one is for alcohol consumption. That one is for alcohol consumption. I don't know if hello. I don't know. Is there any question, Dr. Obonna? Is she around, madam? Okay. Oh, she's not. Dr. Obonna. Okay. So, do we have any comment, any question on this alcohol intake before we move on? Okay, no question. Okay, so we just go to the eating habits. Usually when we tell when people if they are carrying out a research on, say, the prevalence of non-communicable diseases like hypertension and diabetes, we expect them to also assess the dietary habits of the respondents. And so if you are thinking of carrying out, if your research topic is on that, not only those carrying out nutrition and assessing the nutritional status, they have to those carrying out studies on the prevalence of hypertension and diabetes, they have to also assess the dietary habits of individuals, because the WHO has the WHO Step 2 questionnaire that is actually used, and that questionnaire assess the dietary habits. So it will be nice for us to tell us to learn something about what actually influences our choice of food, what the things that influence our choice of food. So from research, the things that influence our choice of food include the taste, emotion, price, convenience, health reasons, culture and familiarity, religion, environment, marketing. So all these are the drivers. All these, they influence our choice of food. They influence our choice of food. Tastes. We like tasty foods, tasty food, which we are told that that is what the easiest route a woman has to the heart of her husband. Eh? But research shows that the foods that we consider tasty, delicious, are usually food that are sweet, salty, and fatty. Sweet, salty, and fatty. Remember that our tongue guides what we take into our body. And what we take into our body from the evolutionary history, is determined by the tongue. Bitterness is synonymous with poison, and that's why if you take a bitter thing, there's a tendency for you to spit it out. But the body, the tongue, is conditioned to accept foods that are sweet because of sugar, and sugar is a source of immediate energy. Sugar is a source of immediate energy. I know that right now sugar is being vilified, but I remember during inter-house sports, secondary school days, we all drank Lucozade, and we all drank, we all took glucose D. Those are things for immediate energy, and the tongue, the body likes them because it gives us, it turbocharges us to perform, to run. Yes. Then salt, because we lose salt. We lose a lot of salt, especially in a tropical region like us. We lose salt through sweating. And so the body is constantly in need of salt. And that's why we like things that are salty to a certain level. And then fat. Fat is a source of energy. It is evolutionary. It's evolutionary. So we have to, when we have any food that are fatty, we want to eat them so that we can store them for the rainy day. We can store them for the rainy day. Especially in the early human society, food were not constantly available. They were not constantly available, even up to the pre-colonial days. I know that in my community, they have what they call the hunger period. Hunger period, a period, I think it usually coincides with the planting season. Planting season. That period, the food stocks are usually very, very low, and people find it difficult to cope. So because of that, the human body actually evolved to like fatty food, because fatty food is dense in calorie, and then dense in calorie, and will be stored in the body, in a woman, in the person's body, and of course that person will be able to survive the lean period. Period. Okay, so that's why our foods, we like foods that are sweet, salty, and fatty. Unfortunately, in this era where we have abundant food, those are the fattening food. Those are food that make us to add weight, and obesity has been found to be a disease. obesity has been found to be a disease and has been found to be a stepping stone to certain diseases like hypertension and diabetes. So we know why we like fast food. We like fast food because they are sweet, they are fatty, and they contain salt, which we need. Okay. The other one too is that another reason is that why we eat food is for emotional purposes. In fact, they said certain persons, when they are under stress, they eat more. When they are under stress, they eat more. And there are certain foods that are considered as comfort food, food that people tend to eat when they are under stress. Food that people tend to eat when they are under stress. Things like chocolates. Yeah, chocolates. Yes, chocolates and the rest are considered comfort food. People comfort food they tend to eat when they are under stress. So you see somebody person mourning, and instead of losing weight, they're adding weight because they are eating a lot of this comfort food. Then price is important, especially when we are selecting food, and especially when we are having problems with household food security. We eat when we have money. They used to call, there is one measure of actually nutrition. It's called the food diversity score. When we have money, we tend to eat a wide variety of food. When we have money, we eat a high variety of food. But when you don't have money, you eat what you have. In my place, we produce cassava, so people do swallow TDS 3 times a day. But when they have money, they can spice it up. They can take tea and bread in the morning. They can, in the evening, they can do the swallow. In the afternoon, they can do the swallow. In the evening, they take beans or rice. That's when they have money. But if they don't have money, the cheapest food, people just eat the cheapest food when they don't have money. In my hometown is swallow. Swallow and any kind of food, any kind of soup. But in the north, I remember when we went for youth service, during my youth service in the north, some coppers subsisted on just beans, because beans was very, very cheap in that Kasida that I did my youth service. Beans was very cheap, and some coppers ate beans 3 times a day. So the price of the food will determine the kind of food you will eat. Then the other one is the convenience. Especially as we are in a busy our life. We are very busy, especially breakfast. People don't have time to prepare a decent breakfast, so they rely on foods that can easily be prepared, and that's why we have the breakfast cereals. So you will remember a lot of the things we eat during breakfast are things that can easily be prepared. It can be tea and bread, it can be noodles, it can be any pap. You take within a few minutes, you have it. That has to do with the convenience. That is the convenience. Then food and health and nutrition. I think that this is becoming very, very common now. Very, very common now. People are becoming conscious of what they eat, becoming conscious of what they eat. People are running away from sugar, because they don't want to be diabetic, and so forth. So yeah, and people, they want to also lose weight, so they are running away from energy dense food like fatty foods, energy dense food like fatty foods. Okay. Then the culture and familiarity. You will try to eat what we are used to. You eat what we are used to. In the South Nigeria, they like swallow with the various types of soup. In the North, they eat what is it? They eat grains. At times, of course, they do it as a gero. Sorry, it's a gero. Oh, they as pap. Eh? Um, yes, or sometimes they make it as into swallow. Eh? But you people eat what they are used to, what is cultural to them, what is cultural to them. And the food we eat foods are usually what we cultivate. The food, most of the food we eat, we cultivate, are usually food we cultivate, except food like rice that has gone global, and of course other serious things like beans that can easily be transported, Okay, that the environment, yes, the environment determines what we cultivate. The environment determines what we cultivate. In the south, because we have more water, we cultivate root crops. We cultivate root crops, and therefore we eat a lot of root crops in southern Nigeria. Unfortunately, root crops are mostly carbohydrates. They are mostly carbohydrates. So we had to complement them with soup. Eh? Thank God for fisherman soup, where you have a lot of obstacles in the soup, a lot of protein in the soup to augment. If not, if you just swallow ordinary cassava with any house soup, you can even go blind because of glycoside, glycoside, because of cyanide in the cassava. Okay, so then in the north, because of their grassland environment, they cultivate mostly cereals, and yes, they cultivate mostly cereals, and that is what they eat. Then the marketing advertisement, people are the people are advertising. In fact, in the US, they have jumbo pack. They have jumbo pack. Yes, they have jumbo pack. And if you say you're hungry and you buy a big size snacks, you are actually conditioned to finish it. You are actually conditioned to finish it. You are actually conditioned to finish it. And that's why in a lot of developed countries, they sell alcohol based on units, standard alcohol units. So they can sell alcohol in 1 unit. In 1 unit. So you have a can of beer. A can of beer is roughly 1 unit of alcohol. So that used to be the prescribed size for women. So a woman, if you want to take alcohol, you can restrict yourself to 1. But in Nigeria, we sell in the standard 60 cl bottle. And that 60 cl bottle has the alcohol unit is about 2.5 units, which is much more than a woman is supposed to drink, and even much more than a man is supposed to drink in a day. So which means that it shouldn't be so. The beer companies in Nigeria, with the alcohol size, with the bottle size they are selling to us, they are pushing us to alcohol dependency. Alcohol dependency, because it is more. What they are selling to us is much more than 1 standard alcohol unit. Okay. Okay. The other thing too is, when we eat, it is not just, we don't just eat. Food is not just for nourishment. It's also for enjoyment. Food shouldn't be just for nourishment. We are also expected. We're expected to enjoy the food. We are expected to enjoy the food. So that's why when people make prescription to diabetic patients and they cut off all the foods, most of the food, and they tell them to eat beans and unripe plantain. No, you have destroyed that person. You have destroyed that person. You have destroyed that person. So when you are packaging the food, you must do it in a way he must do it. He must do it in a way. He must do it in a way that a person will retain that pleasure. He will retain the pleasure. We should be able to achieve that pleasure that comes from eating. Okay, and then probably the concept of the right food. You know, we are supposed to. What is the right food we are supposed to eat? A food that contains 55% carbohydrate. 30% fat and oil, 15% protein. We don't need a lot of protein, especially when we are grown. Little salt and lots of dietary fiber. So remember that the carbohydrates should constitute at least at least 50% of the food we consume. If you eat anything less, I know that some people that have gone into what they call keto diet, where they remove all carbohydrates. That is dangerous. That is dangerous because the parts of the brain, like parts of the body, like the brain, they only use glucose. They only use glucose for energy. So if you don't have glucose in the body, if you don't eat glucose, it means that the body will have to produce a glucose-like compound to feed the body, to feed the brain. And the more reaction you have in your body, the more you age. So those keto diets, although they will reduce their blood sugar level, but they make the person age, and they are counterproductive. They are counterproductive. So the right meal should contain 50%, 55% carbohydrates, 30% fat and oil. The fat and oil should be unsaturated fat. Unsaturated fat, because saturated fat we increase the blood cholesterol level. Okay, I don't know. So I don't know if there are questions or comments or contributions. This one, I'm supposed to be a placeholder. Where this woman now? She don't come. Is there any comments or question? Any comments? Any question? Okay. There are no questions, no comments. If there are no questions, then let me just quickly, so that I know that I've finished this physical. Okay, the other thing is the physical activity. You know, physical activity. We are becoming more sedentary, especially when we live in urban centers. We go to work with vehicle, even to church, even if the church, no matter the short distance, we use vehicles. So we are not physically active. We are not physically active, and the body needs certain level of physical activity, for health reasons. And in fact, the prescription should be that there are two types of physical activity we should engage in: the aerobic activity and then the muscle strengthening activity. They are two, yes, they are important: aerobic and muscle strengthening. Aerobic activity, or they also call endurance activity or cardio activity, they involve the movement of the large muscles of the body for a sustained period of time, enough to make the person breathe faster, and for the heart to beat enough for the person to breathe faster, and for the heart to also beat faster than usual. They are important. They are important. In fact, there are prescriptions so important that the WHO gave a prescription, and that prescription is that 30 minutes of moderate to severe physical activity, 5 days a week. at least 5 days a week, or a total of 150 minutes, and we should do that. And please note that it's called physical activity. It's not called exercise. Exercise is planned. Physical activity can be anything that makes your heart to beat faster. Yes, it makes your heart to beat faster, and for you to breathe faster. These are the physical activity. And the WHO, the prescription is that it should be 30 minutes, 30 minutes at least 5 days a week, or a total of 150 minutes in a week. And then we also expected to do muscle strengthening activity, which means we have to carry weight. We have to take some weight. Yes, carry weight. And there are various ways we can do that. What they call press ups. We can even have small dumbbells. We can even have small dumbbells. In fact, for the management of diabetes, physical activity is recommended. So it's not just to do the cardio, the brisk walking and the rest. One can have small dumbbells, no matter what, no matter the age. You can have small dumbbells and just do use it for some minutes. And it has actually been shown to be very effective in reducing the blood sugar level, and even up to the reduction in the blood pressure. The blood pressure. Remember, we said physical activity. We didn't say exercise. Exercise is planned. Physical activity is anything you can do. You can walk around instead of using your car to buy. If you want to get something at the grocery store, there's no need to drive. Just walk. Walk is good. Is good. Okay, but for you to do that, especially when you were sedentary, if you want to increase your physical activity, you are expected to do what they call the physical activity readiness examination. Physical activity readiness examination to reduce the risk, to reduce the risk of complications. To reduce the risk of complications, And I think it has to do with answering very few questions. Any history of fainting or chest pain during exercise? If there is any family history of sudden death at a young age, if carrying out activity much greater than the subject has recently experienced, when you are in competition and all those things will have to be asked in what they call the physical activity readiness medical examination, that consists a two-step procedure consisting of the questionnaire and then detailed medical examination for those that answered positive. And the questionnaire has to do, there are just a few questions. The first, they include, has a doctor ever said that you have a heart condition and that you should only do physical activity recommended by a doctor? Do you feel pain in your chest when you do physical activity? In the past month, have you had chest pain when you are not doing physical activity? Okay, this chest pain and all those things is confusing, because if you have at times people confuse it with peptic ulcer or some other things. So all these questions are being asked, and if you answer yes, the person is expected to go and do some tests, including exercise ECG, to find out the beatings, if there are problems with the heart. Okay, so we have gone through most of the health behaviors, especially the ones that contribute to morbidity and mortality. I don't know if there are still questions or comments. Okay. Any question, any comments? Okay. Hello, Gift.
Hello, good evening, Prof.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, so my question, first, the question is on sugar level. I've heard about incident where someone that has high blood or sugar level was advised to take a stout. And whenever he takes that, it helps to reduce the sugar level. I don't know what is your take on that. And second, regarding the physical activity, we've heard about incidents where people slump while doing exercise. And a lot of persons do not have the money to go financial backup to go for medical checkup to check if their heart if they are okay health wise, and some person just embark on exercise. How do you advise such people, maybe within your vicinity, people that wants to do exercise, knowing fully well that this thing is good but they do not know their health condition? How do you go about it?
Thank you very much. You know, we talk about stout and sugar level. To tell you the truth, you know, alcohol is hypoglycemic. Alcohol has a capacity to reduce the blood sugar level. But because of it's a double-edged sword, it's a double-edged sword. So most it will not see a doctor prescribing it. So the person that prescribed this is not traditional. But personally, I believe it may have a role to play in Nigeria, especially because we don't have money. A lot of us don't have money to buy insulin. So is to find a way. That is what they call the French paradox. French, their meal has a lot of fats. So you expect them to have higher prevalence of cardiovascular diseases. But it is the opposite. And it has been attributed to their consumption of wine consumption. So wine has a way, and of course the Mediterranean diet is also another. Mediterranean diet also includes the consumption of wine. In fact, when for Christians, that's Holy Communion. Holy Communion used to be the traditional meal of the Jews. It consists of consumption of wine, and it's similar to what is called the Mediterranean diet. I think we have to check it up. You have to check it up. Okay, you have to check it up. Okay, so for the other one, you know, we are talking about if there is no medical checkup, money to carry a medical checkup, the 7 questions in the physical activity readiness questionnaire we can use. We can use. In fact, if you Google the physical activity readiness questionnaire or PAQ, if you Google it, it will just come out. So those questions the person can answer them. It's only when they answer positive, when the answer is positive, that they may require carrying out physical, going ahead to carry out exercise ECG. Exercise ECG, but at all, not in bad pass. People, you can do walking. Things that are not that stressful, and that's why also some people have said, okay, 10,000 or 8,000 steps a day will be enough. So you don't need to pant, you don't need to carry out physical activity. But usually too, if the body can tolerate it, the higher the faster your heart beats, the more lowering effects, more glucose lowering effect you will achieve. Okay, So that is, I think that is my listen. So if there is no money, at least the person can answer these 7 questions in the physical activity readiness questionnaire. Okay. Hello, Linda. Hello, madam.
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Thank you for the lectures. I really appreciate what you're doing. Prof, my question is on comprehensive healthcare, because if I look at what you're teaching us now, you see that even nutrition, physical activity, apart from medication, because I try to receive literature on some of this chronic healthcare management, even like cancer, different types of cancers. And I discovered that there are recommended exercise guidelines, recommended nutritional guidelines for all these chronic ailments, even from American College of Sports Medicine, exercise guidelines for all these ailments, there are exercise guidelines for them. But most times you don't see patients having these discussions, even with their practitioners in our area, you know. And even inactivity itself, if you look at literature, so inactivity itself is worse than cancer. And post-treatment complications has a lot on the patient because it generally affects even their quality of life. So I don't really know. Why don't we have this comprehensive care?
I know. You know what happens is that we run what they call the acute care model. Our healthcare is based on the acute care model, where people become sick before going to see the doctor. The acute care model. An acute care model is best for infectious diseases, wherever that are curable. But non-communicable diseases, they are, anyway, I said I have used the word Nicodemus. They slowly get into the body and you will not even know. In fact, those that are diabetic, most times they don't know when they became diabetic because they would probably think that the frequent urination or the increase this thing is probably normal. So that is it. So, but what is being suggested is the idea of medical checkup. But we don't want to call it medical checkup. I think it's better we call it health risk assessment. Health risk assessment, so that the pre-medical conditions can be identified. So when people do the annual health checkup, they are assessing the likelihood. What are the things that will kill them? And some of them are not medical. For example, personal violence. You know, it is especially in the North Central. It kills. So when the risk of anything, when you are able to identify what can kill you, then you can take preventive action, including road traffic accidents. If depending on how you travel, they can be factored in so that things can be done. So if we're able to identify those pre-medical conditions, it can be behavioral. Cigarette smoking. If anybody is found to be smoking cigarette, it can go to cigarette smoking cessation program. If person is obese, the person is sent to a weight loss program. Unfortunately, we don't even have them. We don't have them in Nigeria, but it is high time we begin to set them up. If person is, even if somebody with diabetes, the person will first of all go for the diabetic self-management education program. Because even the IDF, the International Diabetic Federation, they believe that any diabetic patient being treated without teaching the patient what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, the person is providing substandard care Even if the person is a professor of endocrinology, managing a patient without telling the patient what to do. And the only way is to prevent, to ensure that patients don't come to the hospital only when they are sick. They should go for a medical checkup so that we'll be able to prescribe these things. Okay. That was a third hand. I can't know, but it seems the hand is, I don't know, he has changed his mind. So thank you very much. I don't know this madam. Anyway, I'll find out what happened, and then we'll see what we can do. But tomorrow, I'm shadowed too. I don't know if I'm shadowed, but there's a way I did it. The way I did it. I don't know if it's Dr. Juliet that will come in, but I'll make sure that I'll call them and I'll remind them that they have a lecture with you, so that they will not miss the lecture. Okay, so I am partly to be blamed if they didn't come to teach, perhaps because I didn't remind them. Hello, Kano. Hello, Kano. Kano.
Yes, Prof. Good evening, Prof.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't. Okay, go on. Kano is the surname. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for the lectures. Please, my question is on diabetic pressure. It's like you align that it is normal to take up to 55% carbohydrate. So in this aspect, how do we educate the diabetic patient? Because even though they are diabetic, we know they still need this glucose for their brain to function properly. So how do we advise them on the level of glucose?
Perhaps I need to add that is preferably complex carbohydrates. Yes. Okay. And when we eat, the problem in diabetes is actually to maintain a normal blood sugar level. Yeah. In most of the things in the body, all the things in the body are kept within a narrow range. High is not good, low is not good. In fact, what kills a diabetic patient more is hypoglycemia, low blood sugar level. Yeah. If the blood sugar is low, it affects the brain. The brain can die. I've seen a diabetic patient, that went and took overdose of hypoglycemic tablets, and he went into coma. When he came back, when he came out of it, he wasn't the same. In fact, he started behaving like a madman because some part of his brain, some cells of the brain died. So low blood sugar is not good. High blood sugar is not good. So you have to keep it at a certain range. So when you eat food, they digest at different rates. And we eat food, we get hungry when our blood sugar is getting low. So if we eat food, it is also very good to probably eat what they call multi-course meal. Unfortunately, we don't eat multi-course meal here. That's why in developed countries, you don't eat one meal or one course meal. They can give you, say, to take something to raise the blood, probably the blood sugar, and then you take a more complex, probably main meal containing complex carbohydrate. That takes a long time. You want to take food that will slowly release the blood sugar level. So that's what we do. That's what is recommended. That the food has to be complex, or you can mix them up so that you have a small. If it is a multi-course meal, if you take fruits, the fruit will quickly raise the blood sugar, and then you take the main meal. The main meal will remain in the tummy and be releasing the blood sugar slowly until the next meal. Okay, so that is that. And that person that is it a gift? Mention that alcohol. Alcohol has a way as a way of also releasing, of reducing the blood sugar. Alcohol reduces the blood sugar, but acting on the liver, it acts on the liver to hold on with the release of the blood sugar, sugar into the bloodstream. Okay, so multi-course meal is probably the best way of doing that. You know, yes.
Thank you,
Hello,
Prof.
yes, Ugochukwu.
Good evening, Prof.
Yeah, good evening.
Please pardon my noisy environment.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
I'm asking in respect away from your lecture, sir. Is in respect of the short courses that some of us that are coming from DGD registered for.
Okay.
We have some friends that. Okay.
Okay. They are disturbing. Don't worry. We owe them. We owe them, and we are going to pay in full. In fact, we are going to find a way to settle that debt. It's a debt that has been somehow embarrassing. Has been embarrassing. So please continue to plead on our behalf. Namdi. Okay. Don't worry, we are going to discharge that, fulfill that debt. Okay. Thank you. Hello, madam.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for holding the place. Given the fact that the cost of medication now and the fact that poverty is rampant in our country, is it not good for public health to maybe tilt more towards preventive medicine? Because that will be more beneficial.
Yeah.
It will focus more on avoiding diseases even before they start and reducing risk factors for the population.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that should be encouraged. That should be encouraged. Well, it needs, and I think we are also beginning to look at it, but is how to deploy it. I know that some of my colleagues in the UPTH, they are talking about lifestyle medicine. They preach all these things, but how do you implement them? How do you implement them? These facts are known. Just as I forgot, the person that was asking, just as it is, the thing there is that how do you bring in these things? How do you make them available? And is by and the annual medicals. Anyway, we shouldn't even call them medicals. We should call them probably annual health checkups, so that all the possible causes, the likelihood of all the likely causes of death or even disease are discovered, and then preventive actions are taken. The only thing, the best thing is just to mainstream it. I think it's the packaging. It's the packaging. Right now, even when somebody decides to do medical checkup, for example, a woman that decides to do annual check, you don't have a one-stop shop, a single place you go to in a teaching hospital or in a big hospital, and you'll be able to carry out that test. That is what is needed. But right now, if you want to do annual checkup, you go to ONG and they will do the pap test for cervical cancer, and then you cross over to surgery to do mammography for breast cancer and so forth. So, and the wondering, the to and fro that goes on, in these tertiary hospitals will discourage people. So what is needed, apart from packaging it should be a one-stop shop, so that once you go there, all the tests are carried out, and then you are given that prescription. And that prescription may not be drugs. It may be weight loss. And weight loss is not just go and lose weight. No, it is prescriptive. it is prescriptive. It has to do with the diet. You look at the diet. You have to look at the diet and physical activity. It's only when you combine diet and physical activity to lose weight that most of the beneficial health effects will come up. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much. We will. Okay. So anyway, we'll try and see if we can reschedule the lectures you didn't have today. But the good thing is that these are some of the lectures to be given in future, so we can bring them in to give their lectures. So thank you very much for listening, and apologies for waiting. We will do better. We will do better. Okay, so thank you very much. We are going to see tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. So thank you very much, and have the best of the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Prof.
Thank
you, Prof. You are the best. Thank
Good
you,
night,
Prof.
Thank you,
Prof.
Prof. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My for the paper. Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Bila Musoka. I say she golden Musoka. Okay. Thank you, Prof. You are the best. Thank you, Prof.